No.
Welcome.
Yeah. One of the difficulties in communicating with consciousness in the human condition is the knowledge that self-confidence within the human condition doesn't exist. It's developed by and with the application of the spiritual forces that run through you in conjunction with the physical bodies accomplishing something. And within that confidence, conditions of accepting the understanding of birth, body, you, and what not is not, N-O-T. The human condition now is working on the not. What's not God? It's in front of you. The word God throws everyone into confusion. Which one? Who? And it relegates the individual entity to the selfish extreme of me.
Self-extreme of what?
Selfish extreme of me.
Me.
Yes,
Me.
Okay. Me. The need to display self as some form of confident entity and knowing what it's doing with the form physical. Yet the confusion comes from your memory patterns of how you, the individual, grew up through the ages, not your millennial ages, your birth ages, year to year, the accumulation of the dynamics of the position of yourself within the environment amongst others. The you beings call it the self-esteem issue. You're caught there. You're caught there. If you could simply understand the birds, the bees, the insects, the animals, all living creatures, four-leggers and two-leggers, breathe. Even the creatures in the sea have the concept of breath. Oxygen comes through the gills and sinks. The movement of the whales and the dolphins when they blow through their blowhole, breathe in the water, breath. It's a demonstration there of freedom consciousness in a great body of water. Well, actually, the water is what rules your world, but you don't know that yet. The water is actually your oceans. Your oceans pull and push the moon, but you think the moon pushes and pulls. So you've lost the construct of the power of the self upon the planet with the natural forces, air, earth, water, fire. And your communication with them, air, earth, water, fire, affects the movement of your planetary systems. You've been told that. You have been told that your thoughts are directed to the sun. You've been told that, told that, told that, told that. Years ago. Years. Hundreds. Yeah, it's discard. You don't understand the concept until the reflection of that thought you had to the sun hits the moon, which is an emotional force, translates to the waters of your planet, and the construct of your thought is felt emotionally by you within the structure of a 28-day cycle. Why? Your water. Water communicates with all water. And you're magicians. You know that. That's what you've been doing. When you meditate and contemplate and focus to get those accomplishments of self, you're communicating with the water of everyone. But you don't know that. You think it's words and convincing and yelling and trickery. The movement now is to a greater understanding of the spaciousness of yourself, the spaciousness. Water has vapor. Above water there's a film of vapor. I'm going to call it an invisible mobility out of the not, N-O-T, the non-existence force, that who slides across the water, plays upon the water, sees the water. And as it sees the water, can focus on any entity on the planet anywhere and see the reflection in the water what it's doing. That's the working of what you say, God. You have the same capacities. Yet now, your consciousness, yours, the human thing now, is a manipulative consciousness into a controlling system. When you beings read, you're influenced. No matter what it is. Because you pick a side of it, one like or not like, or in between, or discuss, but you don't see the space between. The objects of books, with words spaced, so there can be an intellectual, you call it, understanding, so the brain can fire rhythmically and sequentially, so the understanding is felt and should be visualized. It should be seen. I don't mean visualize to visualize it. I mean should be seen from the expression of the words and felt, but it isn't. You're in a quandary now. You don't have a God. Don't know which one. You have all the religions arguing with each other. That should tell you something. There used to be the religious structure wouldn't let you read the text because you would interpret it incorrectly, they say. They never let you have all the words either. So you're in a controlled frequency still. Where do you come out of this? Controlled frequency. You come out of it in your sleep state. where you go into your consciousness understanding of pre-birth. That's where you go before you were born. And you reclimate and assimilate and play and complain. And you wake up in the morning and you're still in the same body. Yet the condition of sleep is the pristine condition of embryonic newness. You're in a fetus understanding as far as the body is concerned for health reasons. So when you sleep, you should have said a prayer, anyone, something significant to you, that takes you into a complacent state with knowledge of knowing what you're doing as you watch your physical form laying in bed. So you're in a manner chemically and psychically, I will have to say, managing your body that's laying in bed. But you're not aware of that portion of it. You're so into escaping into this idea of wherever I want, I can do. You can. Yet the structure was built from the seed swimming to the egg with specific purpose and junction and specific purposes and purpose. Specific purpose and unification for the justification of self's promise. Now, self's promise is another thing, because you don't remember what that was. And in the condition of seeking a birth, you say things you wish you hadn't. And you try to change out of it. As you come forth at times, beings see where they're going to be born and they don't want to. So they start to shift within there to end it. Yet there's another working there. And it goes back to the promise. The promise comes out of non-existence. It does. It does. It does. Non-existence doesn't need a promise because it manufactures everything it can and wants, needs, does. It's this black hole thing you beings heard about. You have that system within yourself. And you're playing with it. It's called the doubt. It's called the anger. It's called the why me thing. The main reason you're here is for someone else. You forgot that part. You have yourself you fix first for movement and abilities. Otherwise you're no help for someone else. You just weight, baggage. And the movement now is this identification of manifestation. That's where you are now. Literally. You're at that point where you're going to have to figure out how to manifest in your hand and what you need. First thought beings will say gold. Peace. You meld the fact that's in the hand. Help the body, mind, and spirit to put it there. You know what you're doing.
Put your hand to your heart.
Heart. Because what is here?
In the palm of the hand.
In the palm of the hand. What is there? Does anybody know? Look at Shiva. Om.
Om?
Om.
Om.
The symbol of Om.
Oh.
And it means it. There's something behind the Om. Now there's this. Huh? And the Om here rebukes Satan. He knows it too. Satan is coming up through beings now. And you can identify it, you know it. Why? Because you can feel the tone of the voice. And you know who it is. But beings are attracted to it because they understand there's a sense of power that they think it is. But the rebuke will break the bones. You're in an understanding here of the treasury and preciousness of life, which is called yours. And the movement of yourself, your self. But there's a self that watched the seed swim to the egg. That's self. It's the precious one that needs to, well, it desires to come in now. It desires to come into the body now. The one that watched you enter the egg. The one of you that watched you conditioned your father to produce the sperm to enter into the egg for you to have a form. That system is coming into a consciousness understanding now. It's called manifestation. You're doing it. Everyone's doing it all over the planet. There's the influence of telepathic playing the game with beings. You say you have two halves to your brain. It's supposed to be unified with lavender, flame, unify the brain. But you've got 4 quadrants there. One quadrant talks to the air elementals, another next to the water, another the earth, and that's where everyone's playing in the telepathic mind game thing. Hitting that quadrant. And then another one for the fire. And once you can find out where your quadrants are, it's only 4.
Are they the same for everyone?
Okay. Upper left frontal lobe is air. Upper right frontal is water. Rear is earth, right rear. Left rear is fire. Right rear is where the telepathic influence is being input, affected in that thing. So you have to be aware of that module and its receptivity process and what you're willing to accept. It's like computers. The computers get hacked. The same thing with this process. And there's also an influence to make the computer do something. Same thing with this process. The other thing now is to recognize it and deter it. You can play with it if you wish, but there's going to be danger there. And there can be what you call, it causes aneurysms. The blood vessels in the brain will start popping because it's an illegal procedure in divine understanding. Divine understanding is called allow. That's allow.
Who's hacking the brain?
You have this spiritual blanket around all of you. It's a black robe. It's a consciousness of control. I know better than you, or you didn't do it right thing. That form is all over. And it's activating people to criticize and to judge. For it will keep you out of where you are supposed to be doing. Most beings, well, I won't even say most. I'll say you have a war going on in Syria. This is some of it. You have young children fighting in these things with big guns. They can hardly carry them. They're so heavy, the guns. You know why they're doing it? They're being given amphetamines. All of them. All of them. Huh? Coming out of Europe. Financed by France. Tell you that one. They're drugged. And that's why they're acting like tons of amphetamines. Not 1 or 2 pills. And it's a different one than you've heard of.
Stronger.
They're feeding them to everybody in that thing. The source has been discovered. It's going to be put to shame. By that means we mean ended. And then there's going to be a shift over there because the other entity, the evil ones that run through the consciousness when you're on those alteration medicines, won't have anyone to cling to anymore. Oh, they'll feel the influence, yeah, for sure. But you have to realize that, particularly in the United States of America, you have been protected from internal global conflict here. Why? Because the founding fathers, as you termed them, made a covenant with God, called the covenant. What you're finding out now is that that covenant has been broken. The protection of that covenant has been taken away. You will realize that when the destruction really begins. And then the prayers and supplications and the whining will begin. And then there'll be some doing something, most doing nothing. Why? Because they don't know how to or what to do. Because no one showed them, no one instructed them, and the ones that were supposed to didn't know how to do it themselves. You're going to find that. It's not going to be pretty. The change is this. You ask for peace, protection, and joy in your space so you can think clearly. And you say a prayer, pick one, before you sleep for your own education in the ability to heal your body. You ask permission. It's your form. You've already done with it what you wanted to do with it because you said it was yours. You did whatever you wanted to do. You did it. You've done it. Now fix it. But you can't. You can't. You haven't read about it. You flaunted it. And you're looking for everyone else maybe perhaps to fix you now. Because you haven't studied yourself. Studied everyone else. You have 4 chambers in your heart. They are rhythmic beatings. They're connected to the planet, Earth. You don't need another name. It's Earth. It's where your strength comes from. It's where you came up out of from. And it's why you were blessed. Because the spiritual forces enjoy this place. And so do you. That's why you wanted to be here. It's how you got here. The desire to be. Yet, the condition of overlord came through and you became better than everyone else, you thought. Till you found out you weren't. And there's another force running the show, and it's not you. And it's not Satan. He's trying to. He's done. He's going to break. And then what are you going to do? The quadrant where you entertain that entity won't be available anymore. And you'll only be thinking with 3/4 of your brain. And that's what's going on now. you can see that there is no common sense. There are certain things that need to be accomplished. Everyone wants to accomplish them on their time. Yet that time it doesn't always fit in with all the others, so how do you synchronize this? Well, you don't. If you really understood the moment of play, you would understand that's your joy every moment being alive. If you really understood it. Yet you think play is over there, over there, over there, over there. You're running away from yourself. You have to come back and do something. When you pass the body, the self talks to self. You see the visuals, you've seen the understanding of it, things. The object is not to pass the body to understand that revelation. The object is to understand the revelation as you are revelating moment by moment. And it comes in your back through the grand chakra there, where your astrological chart is imprinted, and all you beings are looking at your astrological chart outside of you and not thinking, but it's back there where you're getting the influence. You don't even know how the planets get assigned. You take it for granted it's so great about this thing. Why, how, for what purpose was the accumulation of all those forces sent forth through you? Why? So you could feel them while you're feeling them. Now what? It was a purposeful intent built for another being to be of assistance to that being. Primarily in the crossing over. You call it death, yet you're dying every moment and you don't understand it. The moment you start into the confrontation and the chief thing out there, you've killed yourself because you don't understand. You died a unit of yourself for not asking for the recognition of the pertinent information necessary for you in the moment, for being aware of it. You have to be really aware now of the direction of your thought. Time is a direction. It's really a circular motion if you understood the sun and the planets moving around it. You have 7 chakras. Each one exists in its own unity, yet within your physical form, in a dimension of time that you're not aware of yet, and it's up. And that's why the chakras look like flowers. They bloom as you water them correctly. And if your chakras aren't blooming, you're the one doing it. There's thought, consciousness, and constructs in each chakra for purposes. And there are columns for purposeful. For safety, for one, strength for another, and continuity of consciousness primarily for the third. So you know of existence as existence of its existence. Not better than. And you're going to become aware of those that don't want you to succeed, because there are many that don't, because they can't. They can't. They don't know what to do. They have no clue. They have no concern. What part of the way is it? No movement. Forward, I mean. You're bobbing up and down. No one's coming to the beach. One of the most difficult things for channel entities to get across to the human condition is the need to understand the concept of slowing down in the system of the bones. The bones are your original tone that you remember. It's given as a secret code for you. And it's in the cranium, primarily. The acknowledgement of how to use it up here. All the other bones will pay attention. Why? Because the synapses in the brain instruct. Right? Not the mind. You don't even know where your mind is. You don't even know what it is. Ball of memories and stuff. You're developing a new ability with the mind, a mind, consciousness. And what's going to happen is that astrological chart starts flattening on you, bending over. You're going to stand up in the middle of it and you'll see the planetary forces there on your platter around your waist. And you'll also look down to the planet through these focal points of your planets in the astrological chart. You'll see down through the sky, through the planets, where you are, and the need for that there, and the why of it. It's a string of energy. Really a string, but you don't see it. It's an influence given for a purpose of learning. Could be an influence in what you call the positive say, as you say, or the negative say, as you say. But it's an influence. Recognize it. Huh? Now, we have two spiritual forces with each planet. You got the intelligence and the spirit. They're not the same thing. The intelligence is manipulative. Aspect of the negative force of Satan left through the planetary systems. You're learning that. The primary thing we're trying to get across now is the knowledge of how to walk safely through space. Earth, the planet that you're on now. Movement cautiously there. You have, as say this, you have your cars now they're developing where you don't have to steer. You drive themselves. It's not perfected yet. It's going to be though. And then you've lost another sense of your abilities. You become even more robotic. You won't know how to do anything pretty soon. You barely remember how to plant a seed and if you're supposed to water it. In your media, you're seeing all these refugees come across all over Europe. How do you feed them? Where's the sanitation? It's nice, you say you see a watch one day walking, they walk for months. Like that. So where's the assistance to them? Not. Now the other thing to consider, I might as well drop this one on you too. You chose the place to be born, your location. United States, Germany, France, England, whatever. Because that's the consciousness you were aligned with, and that was the robe of the water you came in with. The ability to think in that space. In your United States, it was the ability for free speech and things. You didn't have to conform like everyone. Yeah? If you really understood some of the secret teachings that we're trying to get out, so you could make it easier for yourselves. There were laws, like 250 laws of rules because they couldn't get the 10 right. Well, there are only 3. That the human condition needs so much explanation in itself that you need all of this other thing. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. The ability to live life as peace, as self, has been taken away from you. Because everyone else is telling you what to do and you're agreeing with it. Eventually you're going to find out. They don't know what they're doing either. They don't know what they're doing. They talk, but they cannot support themselves. And there's a requirement for others to do it. That's a mental disease. Yet you can't cure it by acknowledging it's a mental disease. You have to understand the suffering of the soul in there that has been, can't do anything. Doesn't know. It knows, doesn't want to. Why? Because everyone will criticize it if it did. So instead of that, it won't do anything. You're going to have to go deep within yourself and find your creativity. How did you know how to let your heart design itself? How did you know that? You knew to leave that one alone when you were manifesting. So you're going through this now thing where you're going to have to learn to manifest. And not from or through another. You're going to have to do something. Because there won't be anyone to do it for you pretty soon. You have a shift happening here. Literally. The planet herself is shredding her clothes. She is ripping her garment and saying enough. And you're going to have a crack in your United States, by the way. Big one. Those kind of little divide things, mountains, are going to move. That will get the wake-up call. That will get everyone looking to Mr. Casey and someone else that might have remarked about something because you were told this so you could change it. And you didn't. And you're going to know it too. Because who do you think gave him this information? And it's proceeding this way. Why? So it could have been prevented. But it hasn't been. You've been caught up with the beings of power within your churches and governments for control of the people, and not the education and supplication of it. Aid. The top is going to twist, turn over.
The top of what?
The top of the, let's say, how do you say, the way things are standing now, you have it like this, it's not correct, it's just going to turn over.
Upside down.
Upside down. You have your, I will say, I'll put the point, you have your kings and queens of England and your chancellors of these countries that haven't done a thing working. Right? They have rituals. You know the rituals they use? They communicate with the other beings. Ones that serve them, yeah? And keep everyone else down. You haven't figured that out yet? You can tell by the regalia they wear. The symbols there. Most beings think, oh, they're pretty decorations. They mean something. They have an effect on your mind simply by looking at it, but you can't remember that. You need to remember the influence you felt when you saw the sperm that you were entering the egg. And you need to feel the piercing of that membrane as you entered through it. It's like walking through a shower curtain. Just filming. And then within the egg you were meditating in comfort and peace, because you knew you were going to become. And you actually knew you had a few months just to rest here. You weren't in the other place, you weren't here. These were your private moments. Literally. Yet you forgot. The cave that you entered was your mother and her personalities. Personalities. 7 chakras, remember? So that's what you're dealing with. And you said you assist to heal. So you bring it in, you heal, you breathe it. Fix it. Because that's what you said you do. And your genetic line, right now, for those of you that are aware of some of this information, are trying to connect with you to straighten out the line. By straighten out, I mean pull it tight so the light can come down through strong. So in a way, you rescue your whole system. If you knew what you were doing. You're saving your family. Families. Both sides. Because they couldn't do it. And you're the only one left, if you're hearing this, and you understand it, that can. Or you're going to have to wait for someone else to come along in your genetic line to fix it. Or at least stabilize the path so you can all see where you're going. Instead of hanging around like a bunch of monkeys in trees. Babbling. You've been told before I was the monkey mind years ago. And you're still doing it. And that's the system and the symbolism in the 100th monkey. Once the 100th monkey figures it out, the other monkeys will look, oh, and they'll try. And all they got to do is try, and they'll try a little bit, and then they'll figure something out. That's how they learn to wash in the rivers.
Wash the sweet potatoes.
Wash the food in the rivers. And things. Because the older monkeys were living longer by following this process. So the monkeys started to learn to look for monkeys that were doing something different. That's what the monkeys learned. And then the monkeys started following those monkeys because that tribe lived longer. In your system of consciousness, we'll have to go into a sort of jungle arena. You have gorillas. They rule tribes. They know how to do it. You have junior ones being trained how to supervise. Not manipulate or control or beat, but to maintain a space of peace for the tribe. That's what's happening. And they're going to be given the authority of it. I'm talking about monkey energy, and I'm talking about gorilla energy. Gorillas are bigger than monkeys. I'm bringing that up because the human condition into this power thing. We've been blessed with innocence. And you could manifest through that innocence. Yet your ability to manifest has ceased. You can't do it. Which indicates your innocence has gone also. Because you can't remember it. You've done what you've done. And from each moment of the doing of it, you've learned something, right or wrong, however, pleasure of it, moment of it. Why couldn't you keep that pleasure? Why? You had a pleasure moment in your life. What happened? Because the innocence wasn't there. And you know it. And you destroy the concept of manifestation. Actually, it was just burned it. Psst. So you're in now, your world is in this phase, and it won't be metaphysical. You're going to need to learn to manifest, or you won't be able to. And you're going to need to talk to the beings that do it for you, and those are the elementals. And there's kings and princes there, and queens. And they have that capacity. One of the greatest difficulties is expectations. If you know what you're doing and have done it before, you can logically expect an outcome that's similar to those before. But if you're expecting something totally unique, your ability to process the receiving of it has to be under fine control. You can't do it the other way of thinking you did before, because you get caught up in the time. Time is the direction, remember, it's up. Actually, there's no time. Won't go into that part yet. When you manifest, you've got to come out of no time to time. You have to slow things down. There's a stretch. Because actually coming into time, speed things up instead of slowing them down. But in your world, you need to slow down in the body. So manifesting, what you're doing really is you're backing up in space and time and consciousness to when you had it, because you know what it's like. And then you bring it forward because you know how to do it. It's not something you're expecting. You already had it. You have it. The knowledge of it. The color, the shape, the size, the taste, the feeling of it, the knowing of it, the smell of it. You have it. You've done it. And you simply call that back. The body consciousness, 7 chakras aligned, bring you into the moment. It'll excite you when it happens. In the manner of your divine self, the heart, literally, always wants to leap forward out to embrace. There's this how do you say? There's a moment when you're going to have to figure it out. That the heart coming forward is a thought in the back of the head here that needs to be brought back in here to call. And when the call is completed, and I don't mean call a human being. I mean when the call is completed for divinity to enter your space more, it's always there, but it has to twist. Otherwise it shifts you and affects other beings. So you need to die yourself gracefully.
Die?
Die yourself gracefully. I did not mean say suicide. By die yourself gracefully, get over whatever you think you are. You barely remember that Jesus was the first worm. Taught you how to do it. Through all the systems. That's why the name is so well known. Through all the systems.
That doesn't make sense.
He had no need to justify himself. He did it.
You said worm?
Worm. W-O-R-M. Worm.
How does that relate to?
Say what?
What does that mean? He was the first.
He was the first worm. First barely manifest physical form. Where the idea of Adam came from.
First
So the
one
manifestation.
First one to manifest physical form. Okay.
Yeah. This was his first manifestation of physical form as a worm. Burrowing through the dirt. And he accumulated himself. And he knew. He felt everything. First one. And why he did what he did. Through all of it. From the atom part up. In that burrowing as the first worm, activated consciousness within the elemental kingdoms, created a path that others followed. And you're still following it whether you know it or not. He's the one that led the way for them all. In a manner to show how easy it is. Now, just for a moment, allow your pen to cease. Close your eyes for a moment. Understand this feeling of Jesus, the entity you call just a name. See the letters, J-E-S-U-S-E, and understand the feeling of the worm thing, was where Kundalini comes from within the physical, actually, the movement. It's how it knew how to move. Jesus taught everything. From the beginning worm, not out of sperm and egg, to manifesting bones body. That same energy, that same worm flows, or at least the concept of it, flows through the lymphatic system in your body and massages your skeletal structure. Told you the sheath over the bones is representative of the Holy Spirit. That worm movement energy caresses that, acknowledges both. And that's why the Holy Spirit was told things that you're going to find out are true. Was told things that are more that have been said. That moves things so you can see. When your vision changes, and these 7 open here at the top of the head, there are 6 that will open within the heart. 4 for each chamber, and then 2 more that have been overlooking, watching. You will see things in a horizontal fashion in front of you, and literally be able to see what this being's doing, this being's doing, this being's doing, this being's doing, without judgment. You'll be watching the movie screen because you have the participation force there. Why? Because there are ones you said you would help. And you're going to have to help without interfering help. Without letting them know you helped. You're going to have to do it from here. So they have the sense of confidence in the completion. Because when you do something for someone, they haven't done it. They don't know anything. It takes movement within the function of the physical system, placing things together in order so you have a unit that you applied and worked. Because you did it, no one else did it. Now whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. It's the sense of having the movement toward it and the completion of it, and the satisfaction registers in your spine, in the back of you. It's actually like a file cabinet in your astrological chart. That's done. Don't have to worry about that. Forward. Another thing that's going to start happening, and this is going to start occurring in your next month, you're going to start seeing and feeling the cloaks you're wearing. You have cloaks over you, robes. And you're going to see the epaulets, and this medallions of units of accomplishments that you've done. And they're on the robe, they're on the sleeves, on the collars. And you proceed. Because what's going to happen when you finally figure it out, your true mind, when you find out where it is going to start taking over the computers. You're simply going to look at it and tell it to stop. It'll stop. And I don't mean just one. You're going to affect the frequencies in the air. You're going to affect electrical current everywhere. Why? Because you're becoming more electrical. And you're going to need the water to ground it so it can flow. That's what's going on now. The muscles cannot handle the electrical increase because you haven't trained your body in the bones for the strength of it. You have to realize your spiritual force is coming. It's going to enter you. Part of the holy light is different than what you call spiritual light. There are degrees of this. It doesn't entertain questions. It knows the answers to all things. And you're it. And there's a communication between those forces now that's necessary. You and it. You and the descending force coming in you, the ascending force coming out, the meaning of it. And what has been accomplished? Anything get done? Are you being entertained by everyone else or entertaining them? Yet you expect your units of safety to be there and you haven't done anything for it. You're living in a cube. A cubic function now. Yeah. 2 cubed. You're going from the 3 cubed to 4. And then you have to come out of it. You have a cube, you have your 4 corners in your cube, and you're in the center of it. What's going to happen is, light is going to come down through the middle of that cube, hit you and through the bottom of the cube, and then expand out, no more cube. But you don't want to do that. Because when you do it, you're going to meet all your relatives. Everyone thinks it's going to be a grand reunion. Well, it'll be similar to what you're thinking about them, how they treated you. That's the kind of reunion it's going to be. So in between there's a doorway where there's going to be some adjustments to be made. Because you could find that expression ended up on another planet to be completed because of the force involved there instead of Earth. Earth is the easiest playground entities. The easiest one. Everyone says it's the hardest. No. It's not. You have the understanding of ability to think here as a self. Not robotic input doing. Yet you don't appreciate the self-awareness there. Yeah. How are we going to pull this off in the human condition if no one wants to understand that they have the ability to manifest themselves? The frustration comes in because it didn't happen right now. Whoa. Slow down. What gives you that privilege? You just stepped out of boundaries here. You have to remember you're dealing with spiritual forces that come through to teach and assist. And they're gentle, caring, motivating. The other ones, you know who they are, and they're being displayed now through everyone. The particles are coming there, you'll see it, everyone's going to know it. And they're going to label it, because you need a group think to confirm yourself. You need a group think. You require it. Because you haven't done anything unique with yourself outside of the group thing. If you're in a group think, you need to adjust the understanding of words. Because when you read a word, you intellectualize it and feel the sentence and get the message generally. But in a groupings, you hear words, there's emotional contact there. There's an attachment, an energy attached to the word even more. And you're influenced by it. Okay? You're taken on into that thought. Right? Discuss it. Accomplish nothing, but discuss it. One of the reasons meditations was given was to prevent that process. But that wasn't very successful, obviously. Confidence and confirmation of the self is the most important understanding within the innocence of you. In order to do that, sometimes you have required yourself to go through cathartic circumstances to know more of yourself and less of other entities. Mercy is in the message. The message is mercy. The message is peace to all beings. And when you understand peace to all beings, in the concept of the animal kingdom too, the animals understand peace to all beings, and you can communicate to a creature inside its body form, not the head, inside its body form, It's where his consciousness is, on his form, like this little doggy. It's in his belly thing, being in there. You communicate there, and they feel comfortable there. In the human condition, it's up in the head. They think it's in the head. It's other places. So you're learning now, or you're going to, the innocence of self. You need to go back and reflect on the innocence of yourself, on the innocence of the thoughts you had when you were a little one, on the innocence of you entering the egg, and then you will find out parts of you that weren't that innocent also. Because there was desires in the enter for secret fantasies, we'll say, you thought no one knew about, that you would work. They're all there. They can be seen. I mean, it's there. The difficult part is when you start seeing it with others, you have a judgment capacity there. There isn't enough struggle as yourself. You can start seeing the dying going on inside and the false facades on the outside and the arguments going on within the cell. You can shut that down because it can confuse you, because you might try to help too much and they don't want it. There's an enjoyment in the suffering for some. It gives them an idea of self. So, the way it is. That's why we have the great angels to assist. Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, Raphael, you've heard of them. They're there. They don't talk that much. They feel you and heal you. It. Here's a little warning. When this space starts shifting, and there are those that have, and you've seen it once, that look in the mirror all of the time. When space starts shifting, you could get trapped in that mirror. Because you're shifting and looking at a thing, and that's you, and you're there, and space has shifted, you're not there. You focused outside of yourself. You've got to get back in here when this thing hits, or the confusion will be tremendous.
Here is the heart.
Heart. Actually, we're going to say this. You have one chakra here. You have your solar plexus, the heart chakra, and the throat chakra. That's what you have. Yet it's one chakra. That's who you think you are. From down here you came up and you've graduated. You haven't got here yet.
To the head.
To the brain.
To the brain.
You're here, you know you're in here. Because you can breathe. You can feel your heart beating. That's the part of you, that's learning to become more within the system outside of group think. There has to be a thought outside of group think in order for the group to think. And you're going in that direction. It's called recognition, awareness, being. And you're outside of the group think thing. But this group doesn't know what it's doing, really. So the becoming process, through the innocence of yourself, is what's going on right now. The innocence. Remember, you were innocent. Or at least a little more than you were now. Are now. And that is why this idea of suicide is becoming popular. It's going to get more crazy. Crazier. It's not a wise idea. You go backwards 3 steps, at least. By 3 steps, I mean 3 incarnations. Those are steps. Those are steps. 3 incarnations back is where you go. consciousness, the love of God, 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 which is all of nature. And if you really knew what you were doing, you'd be praying outside instead of inside.
Outside the house, you mean?
Outside in nature,
In nature.
instead of buildings where there's trapped consciousness. You walk into some of those buildings, there's images all over, inappropriate ones, that, some appropriate, some wrong. But there are others. And the believers believe the priests. Believe God first. The rest will take care of itself. First for the God that's within you. He's always there, never left. The other one is arguing with it. It wants to beat the heart gently, carefully, cautiously, precisely and preciously. So you can understand the life in all things. That's what it wants. As physical. It understands life in all things. But within the corporation of you, as it teaches you, you're learning about it. It doesn't need to learn God, doesn't need to learn anything anymore. It's learning you through you. And you're feeling it because you're learning something, either what to do or what not to do. And the fact that you have a life means you always have opportunity for improvement in it. Always, always, always. We are true.
Question?
Question.
Who or what broke the covenant in the United States? And can we fix it?
Well, you're in the process of understanding what it was in the first place right now, so you can fix it. Your politicians have destroyed it. Your politicians have destroyed it. There's no equality in this country anymore. Your wealth or not wealth. You've operated so many laws against the freedom of expression here, and concentrated power in few hands. They want total global control of consciousness of the human condition. Literally. They're doing it with money. And that's who you think it is. Not your friend. But you don't know how to work it, with it, around it, without it. The interesting thing is, all of this is allowed to play out so you may finally recognize something. Huh? See, liars are liars are liars. They don't change. They get more intricate. Huh? They're worth nothing. The sense of worth is fecal matter, actually. You're not aware yet in the recognition of these things and the appropriateness of behavior for the health of the body and the mind and the spirit. Because if you're not, you cannot be of service to anyone in any way. because you're dragging your disease with you to assist someone else, that's inappropriate. Fix yourself, then you can help. And that's where the human condition is now. You're going to see it. Europe's in turmoil, going to be even more turmoil. The United States is going to have some, we'll call it social difficulties. Yeah. Social difficulties. There are some in your society now that think it's okay to walk around in public naked in your cities, New York City, just to do it. And it's okay. It's okay. With comments. So these improprieties, we call them, however you want to describe it, appropriate for some, what's what it brings you. You've heard of Sodom and Gomorrah, and you think it was a fairy tale? No, it wasn't. This country was blessed with the freedom of expression. And look what has been done with it. You have men founded this country, forefathers, you say, founders. They had set up a beautiful system. That's why everyone else wanted to come and mess with it. Well, they finally succeeded. And that's where the covenant was broken. Money, bribery, murder, lies. It's enough. Took it away, you're on your own. And what's going on now, there's certain groups within your country that are doing prayers and little ceremonies to bring some form of protection back, at least to a small communal area. Here, 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 here. You start over when this thing is through. That's what's going on. There are names that have destroyed this thing. You're aware of them, or should be. They're big financiers manipulating wars. Who's making the bombs? For what? Who's building bombs? Who's making all this gunpowder? Kill everybody. Bullets. No. The confusion is going to be in your face when this thing literally explodes. And you'll say you didn't know, but you know. And you will wish you had done something about it, but you didn't. And then it'll be, oh my. The moment before bed is the most important moment of your life for the health of your body. The proof will be that you woke up the next morning. You're still alive. The prayers still need to be done. Heal yourself. Water, appropriate thoughts as you drink the water. And now you're not going to need soon so much food. You're going to need less foods now. Watch your diets. Watch what you start not wanting. Because the water is going to begin to talk to you of what it desires to push through your system. Because the bones are going to call it. And it's not some of your fancy foods either. It's more like a reclamation process of yourself. The one that saw the egg entering the sperm and then decided to join it. I mean the sperm entering the egg. And as it penetrated, you're still watching. Then you entered. That's what happened. You wanted to see the entrance. A door opening. With permission allowed. Yeah? Allowed. Permission granted. Born. Same thing when you sleep. You wake up in the morning. Permission granted. Born. So you can adjust yourself. Instead of going into your dream with the fantasy of going here, there, they are, center within the bones, health, the body, mind, and spirit. It's a crystalline structure. Crystal vibrates. It has a frequency. Soon we're going to have to be doing healings, but not in the manner you determine what are healings. This one is not complying right now, but we will adjust that. What is needed now is life within the unit of the self. So it consists other lives within the unit of the self. So that the little ones coming forth have an opportunity to have confidence and safety and understanding of the purpose of a body. Not just to lay in bed with another body and do things. No. So eventually, what you're seeing now is an education in society, not just people, individual units. You're going to get tired of war. Your system will get tired of being drugged. Yeah. One of the difficulties you have now in going into what you term as they're going to try, what you term peace talks, you have a unit on one side, sober. You have a unit on another side that are totally out on amphetamines. How are you going to establish that? You've seen beings in that mode. I've heard about them. There's not there's not a unified consciousness there. Many pieces. Broken puzzle. So the peace table is going to be a long way off here. It's going to take total decimation of this other entity to create a space for peace. And that's what you're going to see. You are in happenstance now. It's how to say that. For the knowledge that you have the ability to manifest, do it, prove it to yourself, get it done, and get on your path. Once it's done, you might be pretty busy with others wanting to know, and then you're going to have to be cautious, because that's greed coming through that wants it. So your selectivity in your teaching's going to be required also. But that's another story. You're going through the death of what you would consider the personality of the human consciousness globally. You look at a group crowd of people and you know above the crowd the consciousness of the man. The consciousness of this, that's what the consciousness is. It's like looking at churches. Groupthink. It'd be wonderful if the group were formations and they knew what they were doing like the birds. But they're not running into everything. And this is a space you're in. And his suggestions on how to accommodate mass consciousness into a peaceful manner would be appreciated in the spiritual realm, because they're kind of confused now. I made a suggestion. A year ago, maybe two. My suggestion was, get the monks out there monking it. Instead of sitting in your temples monking it, get out there with the people and monk it. They've been coming out. Yet the people still don't get it. You got one more chance. The monks have done all they can. There's no one left to do it for you but yourself. Because nobody believed them. Nobody understood. They didn't care. You're going to start seeing bodhisattvas working. And that's a whole nother energy. Peace to all beings. Any more questions?
No, I think I'd just take us off in another direction. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is a long one, yeah?
Yeah.
You have, let's say, I'm doing notification now, here, from this room, to those that contribute to your magazine, and requesting and informing that they need to go a little deeper. So the ones they said they would say something for can hear it. All this self-flattery has gotten you nowhere. Dear ones, humankind, you're not kind. You're not dear either. Well, you're going to find it out. You need the straight talk now, for health reasons. Your blood knows, because that's produced by the Holy Spirit. It knows. So it's time to understand that within the system called the crystalline structure of yourself. And this is for those that channel. All of them. Because they got that gift from somewhere. It was given for a reason. For now, actually. And it better be utilized as such for now. These are all beings. And you can check my credentials. The North Star. You got through.
Blessings, thank you.